I'm Rick. This is little Missy. She's usually down there in the car in the cat carrier when I'm doing videos. And trying to get her to be a little more used to being out, because hoping in a few more months to just let her roam the rest of the house with the rest of the cats. Anyway, that's what you're here for. You know what? Electric cars. Love them or hate them. Fact is, they've been around since the car began. Since the earliest days of automobile transportation, the electric car was one of the first kinds of cars ever mass produced. True fact. Wikipedia that. You don't like it? Tough shit. Now, Jay Leno, as a matter of fact, for Jay Leno's Garage, did a piece for his for one of the ones he has restored and that he operates and still operates, just like he did one for the steam powered car that his garage operates. And I believe he took some he got hurt operating here a while back too. Yes. Are we just going to be insistent or what? Yeah. He's just being a pain in the butt. So the current modern age electric car, one of my customers, I was out at their place a while back, and they bought one of those EVs, and they had to, it's something they don't talk about. I found it was interesting, is it's not just that you got to purchase the car, but then you got to set up the hardware. You got to acquire the hardware and set all this stuff. I'm pretty sure that's not free, and it's not part of the cost of buying that car. So for example, this gentleman, works for a small company and or is a partial owner of said small company, as at their outlet store on Ingersoll here in Des Moines. He had to put in a charging station on the back of the store. So when he's there, he can pull his car up and plug his car into the store while he's there. So there's one. They put another one in down at the facility where they manufacture. It's a candy place. That's a chocolatory place, so they make lots and lots of fancy chocolates, truffles, things like this. So they got their own little Willy Wonka operation down on the south side, and so once again he put a recharging station in at that outlet. They also have several other stores, so I don't know if they put a charger in at all of them, but they put one at that one because he's there a lot, and then they put one down there at the main building because he's there a lot. And then it makes the assumption is he's got a third one at home where he plugs it in when he's not driving the car. So how much did each one of those cost to install? Just curiosity, how much did those cost to install? And how many others did he have to put in? You know, but once that hardware, the infrastructure stuff's in place, as an example, new houses today could be hardwired from construction to include a charging port for battery operated vehicles. And we have to take into account it's not just the automobiles this is, you know, all of our lawn appliances, our lawnmowers and snow blowers and all that stuff are transitioning over to electric power. I have mixed opinions on them for a number of reasons. A year before last, I used to have gas. I still do. Got a gas chainsaw. I hate it. I hate the damn thing. It is a bitch to get started. It's a bitch to get started, and if you flood it the first time, you might as well just go home and not use it. You know, give up for a day or two, because you're never going to get it started. I hate it. So I went and I bought an electric one. And I looked at the battery-powered electric battery pack ones, and they're absurd. The amount of money they want for them is just absurd. And the reason is because the battery pack. Because if you look at what it costs to get a spare battery pack, that tells you what the cost of the actual unit is. Lion's share of that price is for that damn battery. So the next option was, ironically, an electric version that's been around for a long time that you plug in with an extension cord. Grant you, it's not convenient. I'm not taking this thing into the woods to cut firewood for a fucking log cabin. I'm doing for odd trimming and crap around my yard. So I've got hundreds of feet of extension cord. I can reach anywhere in the damn yard I need to go, and I don't take this thing out very often. And so when I do, it's just a matter of putting the extension cord out and going to do my job, and not trying to kill myself trying to get a 2-cycle motor to stay started. So to me, that was worth getting. It's like the snowblower. I did not, this first year in 5 years, I did not get the damn snowblower out of the shed and have it prepped for the winter. His last couple winters, we had some snow, but it was punky. It wasn't even worth even getting the snowblower out for. I think the most we had was like fucking 6 inches at one time. And it was all powdered stuff at that flow. So it was, and my driveway's pretty short. It's just faster with a shovel than the BS it takes to get the thing out of the garage, get it started, get it out of the garage. You get it. So I just chose to leave it down in the shed. And this is probably a 20-year-old snowblower. It only gets run a few times a year, and I had spent almost $600 about 7-8 years ago to have it all gone through and so on and so forth. The only redeeming factor is it has an electric starter. I mean, because once again, if I had to pull start that son of a bitch, I would never get it started because it'll kill you trying. So the electric start makes it much easier. My dad had that installed on it. So I mean, as long as it runs, the problem is it's huge and it's bulky, and it's buried in my shed. So by the time I get down there and dig the shed out and run extension cords down to fire up the damn thing and get it out of there, is it worth the bullshit? I don't know. I wasn't desperate enough to get to that point. But what it did make me consider is the possibility of buying an electric snowblower, because once again, my driveway is about 15 feet long and only about 9 feet wide, so it's not very much. And I got a short little sidewalk in front of the house. There's no sidewalk in front of the property because it's nothing but drainage ditch. So other than that, and then digging a spot out by where the mailbox is and the fire hydrant, I mean, I don't really have that's overkill for that big bitch in the back. And so I get a smaller one that doesn't kill me to run it. That's the route to go, and that's electric. So we're going to see a lot more of that everywhere we go. I mean, here in the city of Des Moines, the Metro Bus Company have added some electric vehicles, so there's a number of electric buses running the routes. The city police department has a few of them. The city works has a few of them, but not as many as one might think, because once again, there's a lot of downsides to electric vehicles. One being is that it's not as simple as just pulling up to the next gas station and topping your tank off. If it takes, how long does it take to recharge a car? They're adding recharge stations. I've seen more of them. There's 4 or 5 right off the top of my head I know of now that exist, because the state's partner, or the government partnered with some big gas companies to help put them in, have them installed in there. But like I said, I've never owned one, and I don't know of anybody who has owned one. For me, most electric vehicles are still fantasies. I can't afford a new vehicle of any sort. I'm just being honest. I haven't that kind of resources. Between the insane amount of cost of the gas or the insurance, Jesus, the insurance on a new car is like fucking 10 times what I'm paying for my my 20-year-old used van, and that's full coverage. No, I can't do that. And then what's your monthly payment? $400 or $500. I know a guy that bought himself a pickup. His monthly pickup payment's more than my mortgage is. Yeah, geez, it must be rough to have. I think it must be rough to be able to do that. But also, part of me think is Jesus, how crippling is that? I mean, how is it that and they want to blame? Well, of course, the corporation's first blame is, well, we have to pay the workers more. We have to charge you more for that car. Sure you do. All them record fat fucking record profits y'all have been raking in for the last couple of years had nothing to do with any of that, right? Yeah, right. So, like I said, when people going on and wigging out about these damn things and saying, well, they're just, well, from just a quick Google yesterday, the first one was like in 1880s. Yeah, what the hell was that? Yeah, early electric cars, steam cars, 1880. No, that can't be right. Late 1800s. It says 1888 or something like that, but I think that's not quite right. It's just like not too long, over the last week or so, I've had a somewhat of a spirited, amusing debate on my side. I'm not so sure the other fellow thought it was too amusing over this controversy of horse and buggy, and insists that the horse and buggy in the country is a dead thing. Well, no, it's not. No, it's not. I'm sorry, and I live in a rural community in a rural state, and I'm surrounded by Amish There's lots of Amish in Iowa, especially in southern Iowa, southeastern Iowa, and northern Missouri is chock-a-block full of Amish. And everywhere you go, there are signs that show you pictures of buggies and horse-drawn buggies, and to warn you to be aware that you're sharing the roads with horse-drawn vehicles, which means A, horse-drawn vehicles are still a thing. B, these are not people using those horse-drawn vehicles for pleasure. The Amish and the Mennonites, specifically the Amish, are using these for the same reason you use a car or ride a bus. Same reason. So the fact is, and I should have put a picture of the damn Amish wagons and stuff, but aside from that, there's lots of horse-drawn vehicles still in function. You know, there's, the Mackinac Island. They won't allow motorized vehicles on the island, so everything there's delivered by horse and wagon or by hand power. At least that's what if you go by the Discovery Channel videos or shows they did about the damn place. Then there's every major city out there that does that has the entertainment side, where we have horse riding and wagon rides and things like this. But what about police forces? Most of the major metropolitan police forces maintain a horse corps. They have a handful of horses or officers with horses, and they utilize them in an official capacity. That's not leisure. That's not just one-off. So grant you. Now, the feller's argument that 1% of 1% of 1%. Yeah, but guess what? How many 1% of 1% of how many people use skateboards to get to work every day? People do that. They do. I've seen them. See them here downtown, especially in the spring and summer. I'll see these yuppie wannabe somethings with their ponytails whipped behind their heads. They're bouncing down the uneven sidewalks downtown, riding their skateboard between business calls and stuff. Transportation doesn't make the fact that we don't use it on the scale that we did before the automobile doesn't change nothing, right? Just saying. Sorry, dude. The horse culture out there will call you a liar. And I guarantee you go into certain parts of this country, horse and buggy, horse and wagon, horse period, is still a form of transportation that's quite accepted. And I know that a number of places here in Iowa that you can go, you can find hitching posts outside the local gas stations, grocery stores, and bars. Is what it is. So it's like the electric car. So the electric car controversy is actually crap, because it's been around since the beginning of the auto industry, and it hasn't gone anywhere. It's just been various levels of autonomy and stuff. Let's just get them all up out there. So, here's the one from the 70s, that little weird boxy thing there. And I believe that one was made in France. Now, a lot of the Neo ones from the 60s and 70s and stuff were for overseas. There weren't any domestic manufacturers of electric vehicles aside from golf carts, right? And that's just something to point out. So the technology and the concept didn't go away in this country. It just got circumvented to other uses. So most of your golf carts, pretty much all of them, were electric powered, battery operated vehicles. And once again, I grew up in small town Iowa. There was an old fellow that lived there in town, and back when it was not considered okay to drive your golf carts all over downtown, they gave him a pass, because he drove his golf cart down to the Ball Diamond in the evenings when the kids were playing, and uptown, and up to the gates of the local grocery store when we had it, and things like this, because he wasn't legally able to have a driver's license anymore. But electric golf cart, they figured, wasn't going to hurt nothing, and it was local. So yeah. I guess the big concern is this is going to somehow or another, the electric vehicles are going to supplement the internal combustion engine vehicles. Yes and no. There will become a time when there are certain elements that electric vehicles just cannot surpass. The sheer amount of longevity, for example, these over-the-road long-term truck drivers and stuff like that, you need to be able to roll all the time, and you don't need downtime where it takes you 45 minutes or 2 hours to recharge your batteries. Not to mention the fact that I don't know that you can get enough batteries on a commercial truck so they can run for 10 hours in a day on a single charge and not have a problem. See, so there's always that question. Although there's always some kind of outside the box thinking for trying to deal with that. The other obvious thing is, economics of money. Well, so much money and time and effort become developed into the internal combustion engine triangle, and that it's hard to break loose of that. But inevitably, and I've been hearing this since I was a kid. So which is it? Which is it? I ask you, America. Ask you. You tell me. Which is it? And we have an infinite supply of oil, or don't we? Because they've been saying since the 70s, since the first oil crisis, first oil crisis in the 70s. Man, as a kid, I never quite understood what all that hoopla was till I got older. At the end of the day, though, who's... Yes, I lost the damn train of thought on that. What the fuck was I saying? Yeah. At the end of the day, who's benefiting from all this crap? Well, big business is, and the established corporations that have been making money off of fuel and parts and automobiles for the better part of 100 years. Yeah, and the working institutions. Let's be honest, a lot of working Americans that's supported by the gas-powered industry. But they keep telling me, it's ever since I was a kid. Yeah, that's it. They just keep telling us ever since a kid that there's a limited amount of oil that we can access worldwide. Period. Now, there's arguments that there's deeper pockets of oil that they're much harder to get our hands on, but the technology's catching up to where they can get to that now, where they couldn't before. But at the end of the day, even that has a finite tap. And then what? Exactly what is it that we depend on oil for the majority of anyway? What is oil-based petroleum products the most crucially required for? Powering your vehicles so you can bebop down to the local grocery store or McDonald's or fuck around on Saturday night? Or the lubricants that needed to keep the entire industrialized world running smoothly? So you can make synthetic lubricants, but they're a lot more expensive, and some of them are less quality. And then there's certain elements within the lubricant subfields that are much harder to synthesize. And then, of course, there's organic stuff. We can use, they use whale blubber products for the previous century and a half. So before the oil and fuel, gasoline became a thing, a big thing, it was whale oil, and that was on a massive scale that almost depopulated the world's oceans from major whale species. Right? So once the big oil situation surpassed the whale oil industry, tanked. It wasn't long after that it ceased to be a thing after a century or so more. So when we look at that perspective, so which is it? Do we have this infinite supply of fuel or oil, or don't we? And if we don't, then we need to conserve what we do have access to for more critical things like lubricants that are harder to synthesize than fuel sources. So, to say that we're going to get rid of the entire industrial combustion engine system is quite reasonable to say that. Whether we will do it in our lifetime, no, that's not going to happen in our lifetime. There's a lot of significant changes that need to happen before that. And if we ever find a way to, create a safe cold fusion engine, then all this will be mute anyway. Because the biggest problem with electric vehicles today is the fact that the batteries are hideously expensive. They're no better on the environment than any of the fossil fuel byproducts are, and then the longevity of those batteries. How long do they last? Jesus. Some of our internal combustion engine vehicles have been running for 50 years and still are, 100 years. Now, it's going to be an interesting thing to see how this plays out and how this develops. in a culture that's hugely dependent on personal transportation, uh, it was always on the wall. Just people chose to ignore it. That we were going to run into some critical crisis points when it comes to mass transportation in America. And one of those is, we've already hit that place and gone past it, is the sheer cost of fuel to get around, and what's considered necessity. I mean, when I was a kid, my family lived out in a town that is about 25 minutes drive east of the center part of Des Moines, and you did that commute every day without thinking about it. When I turned 16 and I started driving my car, I literally ran myself out of gas numerous times because I would drive back and forth because that was what you did. And if you drove 2 or 3 times, made that trip back and forth 2 or 3 times in a day, that's average, right? There's the occasion where you had to make 4 or 5 trips, and that becomes annoying. But you spend half your day basically driving back and forth to town. But that's just the way it was. So our small town slowly died off. The grocery store went out of business. It couldn't compete with the bigger chain stores in the next town over. When Walmart came in, that killed off the hardware store and the little local stores. For the most part, there's not even curio stores and stuff left in my small town, hometown. It's oddball stuff, right? Nothing of substance. So this. It wasn't until Dollar General came along that we seen another store go back up in the town, and the town is starting to benefit from the massive growth of the Altoona, which is the eastern suburb of Des Moines. So it's really exploded over the past 10 years, and so now all the property between the two towns is beginning to be developed. So Mitchellville's now starting to see a little pickup out of that from that perspective too. And but for the lion's share, most of us, I'll never afford an electric vehicle. I mean, I can afford an electric screwdriver and I can afford an electric chainsaw, but I don't think I'll be able to afford an electric lawnmower because I just don't have that kind of money. And the batteries, man, they're just unreal. And then my property's big enough that you would need to take several different days of mowing to get it all because your battery won't hold enough charge. That's bullshit. So that's why you look for a second battery, and then you realize just how much of the purchasing cost of your item is actual battery. So when you look at these electric cars, what are they, $60,000, $75,000 and up? And well, hell, probably half that is the cost of the damn battery itself. And then there's some questions, morally speaking, of the working conditions that a lot of these young kids are being put into or exposed to that are pursuing getting the rare earth elements that's required for the manufacture of the batteries in the first damn place. Things will improve given time. I don't think that it warrants the hysteria and the bullshit that gets thrown at it by the MAGA world, in my opinion. But then what do I know? What do I care? All right. I'm still an advocate of let's leave the horses in place and ride them to school and work. You know, if you can and save money, knock yourself out. When I was a kid, we had a pony. I had a pony. My mom, my sister had her own. I had a Shetland, and mom would the damn pony was trained. We could ride the damn thing to school, get off, and then the pony would walk itself home. And what we didn't know was mom was up the street with a bucket of corn, urging the pony to walk itself home. But that came out years later. But the point was, it was a thing. It still is a thing. Till next time, Missy and me and you guys have yourself a great weekend, right? It just irritates me to no end.